It's true that no video game can be truly original, and every great game was built from something else. Castlevania drew inspiration from Hammer horror movies. Dragon Age took a lot of its lore from Game of Thrones. Street Fighter was inspired by Karate Champ. But at a certain point, when does a game stop being inspired by a property and start stealing from it? The sad thing is that a lot of great games have become immortalized for mechanics those developers didn't invent, but rather strapped their rubber bag on their back and decked themselves out in the finest stripes to pilfer it from the shelves. Even Pong, most wholesome, lovely Pong, one of the oldest video games of all time, is a rip-off of another property. Some of the most famous titles have made billions of dollars, launched franchises, and had movie adaptations, despite the fact they are complete knockoffs. So let's take a look at the lineup of offenders, shall we? I am the petty thief, Ash from WhatCulture Gaming, and these are 10 video games popular franchises stole from. 10. Angry Birds stole from Crush the Castle. In 2009, Angry Birds took the world by storm. In less than a year, it was the most popular game on the App Store. It was so addictive, former British Prime Minister David Cameron said he completed the whole game, though he probably should have spent more time running the country, really. However, Angry Birds drew a little inspiration from the game Crush the Castle. And when I say drew a little inspiration, I mean it drew all the inspiration. In Crush the Castle, you launch boulders at balanced structures, forcing them to collapse. Okay, the concept is the same, there's no question about that, but couldn't it just be a coincidence? Nope. Angry Birds didn't just copy the idea, it copied the projectiles too. In Crush the Castle, you can wield a stone that splits into 3, just like the bluebirds in Angry Birds, a jumbo boulder, just like Terrence, and an exploding rock, just like Bomb. Well, at least Angry Birds ones have funny little faces on them. 9. ZUMA stole from PUZZ Loop. In 2003, PopCap Games released ZUMA, a puzzle game where the player matches tiles of the same colour to make them disappear. It started off as a free online game, but became so popular it was ported onto the Xbox, Xbox 360, PS2, and PS3. Many people noticed that the game was incredibly similar to Mitchell Corporation's game PUZZ Loop, which came out 5 years earlier. After playing both games for longer than 10 seconds, the similarities between the two are unmistakable. When circumstances like this come to light, it is not uncommon for one company to try and sue the other for infringing on their intellectual property. However, Mitchell Corporation never took PopCap Games to court. It is uncertain why, but it might have something to do with Mitchell Corporation's most popular game, Buster Bros, also known as PONG, being a complete rip-off of the 1983 game, Cannonball. So it is very likely the company didn't sue PopCap for creating a knockoff of their property, since they themselves have done the exact same thing. You know what they say about those who live in glass houses, don't you? 8. Minecraft stole from INFINIMINER. Okay, there is no way to comprehend how mind-bogglingly successful Minecraft is. At this moment, it has made, give or take, $89 bajillion, and the game is used in schools across the globe to help students understand architecture and chemistry. Minecraft may be one of the most influential games of recent times, but that doesn't mean it's original. Zachtronics founder Zach Barth created a block mining sandbox game called INFINIMINER in 2009, 2 years before the release of Minecraft. Not only does INFINIMINER have the same blocky style as Minecraft, but both games revolve around building structures out of mined resources. INFINIMINER and Minecraft look so similar, it's difficult to distinguish the two at a glance. Developer Marcus Persson has confirmed that upon seeing INFINIMINER, he decided it was the game he wanted to do, and the mechanics and terrain for Minecraft were taken directly from Zach Barth's work. After Barth cancelled INFINIMINER due to a source code leak, it was easy for Minecraft to be released without suffering legal consequences. Interesting, hey? 7. Ms. PAC-MAN stole from PAC-MAN. I know what you're thinking here. How can the sequel of Pac-Man be a knockoff of Pac-Man? So, bear with me, everyone knows Pac-Man was the most popular arcade game of the 1980s. Even today, it is one of the highest grossing video games in history. But 2 years after the game was released, 2 MIT students modified one of the Pac-Man cabinets to create their own version called Crazy Otto. They tweaked it a bit so the main character was given legs, the enemies were made smarter, and the levels were vastly improved. Naturally, Pac-Man's distributor Midway was about to sue the pants off the students, until they realised that Crazy Otto was making a ton of money. Instead, Midway agreed to buy the Crazy Otto game and change the main character so it looked like a female version of Pac-Man. This version, which is called Ms. Pac-Man, was released weeks later and became a global sensation. Ironically, Ms. Pac-Man never started off as a sequel to the original game. Instead, it is a rip-off of Pac-Man. 6. Street Fighter II Turbo stole from a hack of the game. When Capcom realized that interest in Street Fighter II was waning, they released an updated version 1 year later called Street Fighter II Champion Edition. In this version, you could play as the 8 original characters as well as the 4 bosses. Besides that, it was pretty much the same game. However, hackers believed they could improve on the game themselves by tinkering with the Street Fighter II arcade cabinets. Over time, hackers created their own version of the game where the player could change their character in mid-match, perform moves in mid-air, and adjust the speed of the gameplay. The hack was so successful it was actually outselling the original game in some arcades. Although Capcom could have taken legal action to stop the hack, they decided to go about it a different way. Instead, the company took a leaf out of the hacker's book and created another update called Street Fighter II Turbo Hyper Fighting. This version had many mechanics from the hack, including air moves, better balance between characters, and the ability to speed up the gameplay. So, there you go. Hackers are directly responsible for making the Street Fighter series a global phenomenon. 5. Guitar Hero stole from Guitar Freaks. Guitar Hero was so successful that Aerosmith have made more money from it than from their actual albums. That should give you some idea of the power of rock. In Guitar Hero, you play a guitar-shaped controller to emulate the music of the greatest rock stars ever. With a premise like that, and through the fire and the flames shoveled in to make you see space and time through multicolored guitar buttons, how could it not be a hit? However, Red Octane didn't create the game from scratch. A Konami game called Guitar Freaks was released exclusively in Japan in 1999, which has the exact same premise. Press buttons on a guitar-shaped controller in sync with the music to progress through each level. Now, is it possible that this is a coincidence? Theoretically, yes. In practice, no. You see, Red Octane was hired to create a Western version of the controller for the US release of Guitar Freaks. In mid-development, the company realized they could just make their own game with their newly designed controllers and left instead. 4. Pong stole from table tennis. The 1977 game Pong is arguably the most influential game of all time. It is directly responsible for turning the tech company Atari into a force to be reckoned with. Pong proved video games weren't just a novelty. It proved games had the potential to make millions of dollars. Not bad for a game that consists of 2 sticks knocking a square back and forth, is it? But the most interesting thing about Pong is that it is a total rip-off of table tennis. And no, I don't mean the sport, but table tennis as created by Ralph Baer, who also invented the first game console, the Magnavox Odyssey. After Baer spent over 2 decades trying to make video games a reality and dedicated 6 years of his life making table tennis, Atari president Nolan Bushnell took the game, tweaked it, and released it as Pong the same year. Since the concept of video games was virtually non-existent, the law could do little to stop Atari, and so Bushnell only received a minor fine for stealing Baer's life work. 3. Flappy Bird stole from PIOU vs. CACTUS. Flappy Bird is a mobile side-scroller where the player needs to navigate around green pipes without getting hit. Despite the game's simplistic concept, Flappy Bird became popular almost instantly, and then the creator suddenly took Flappy Bird off the App Store, stating that he felt guilty that children were becoming addicted to the game. Interesting. And suspicious. It was speculated the real reason Don Gwen had Flappy Bird removed was because the graphics and sound effects were too similar to the Super Mario series, causing Nintendo to threaten legal action, though that does remain speculation. Shortly after, Vietnamese newspapers pointed out that Flappy Bird was suspiciously similar to another game called PIOU vs. CACTUS. Not only is the concept the same in both games, but the protagonist in both is a yellow bird with a red beak who must dodge green obstacles. Naturally, Gwen denies that he stole his idea and claims he never heard of PIOU vs. CACTUS. However, since he arguably stole the sound effects and green pipes from Super Mario for Flappy Bird, it's pretty difficult to give him the benefit of the doubt. 2. Evolve stole from Deer Hunter and Cabela's Big Game Hunter. Oh, sweet lovely game of mine. This is an entry of inspiration rather than outright stealing. Mostly because I just want any excuse possible to talk about Evolve nicely. Evolve is the underloved game that sees players take control of one of 5 characters, 4 playing as the hunters and 1 playing as the monster. The designers loved the film Predator and wished there was an action game where hunting was just as important as fighting. After looking at hunting games, they drew inspiration from the Deer Hunter and Cabela's Big Game Hunter series. These franchises had a reputation as they're among the few games where the prey can attack you. Although it's a simple mechanic, it was a core concept at the heart of programming Evolve. If you played the games back to back, you would never guess Deer Hunter and Cabela were the main inspirations. But yoinking that part out of their gameplay and sticking it in their own was their own take on homebrewing an innovative mechanic. This one is allowed because it feels a lot more like inspiration than anything else. But the top spot has no such humble bone in their developing body. 1. ZYNGA stole from everyone. ZYNGA is a game developing company that was set up in 2007. After only 2 years, the company's popularity exploded after they launched the heavily addictive Farmville. Although ZYNGA released many successful games like Dream Heights, Mafia Wars, Zynga Bingo, and Cafe World, Farmville was their strongest property, garnering 10 million users 6 weeks after release. However, every game I have just mentioned has something in common. They are all knockoffs. Mafia Wars is conceptually identical to Mob Wars. Cafe World is a carbon copy of Playfish's Restaurant City. Zynga Bingo has the same setup and design as Buffalo Studios' Bingo Blitz. Dream Heights is clearly based on Nimblebit's Tiny Tower. Although Zynga deny this, they tried to buy the company months before they created Dream Heights. When Nimblebit's co-founder David Marsh saw Dream Heights, he said, "We were taken aback by how thoroughly Zynga had copied the mechanics of our game, right down to small trivial details that had no effect on the functionality of the game." Months after Farmtown was released, Zynga duplicated the aesthetics of the game to create Farmville. Because Zynga invested so much money into marketing, Farmville became a phenomenon, and Farmtown sank without a trace. And that's our list. What other video game franchises feel a little too familiar? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I've been Ash, and this has been WhatCulture Gaming. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and come back again soon for some more lovely gaming content. Thanks for watching.